Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Science Friday Trivia. I am so excited that you all are here. Welcome. It is going to be a wonderful Wednesday evening. My name is Diana. I am the Outreach Manager for Science Friday. If you don't know who we are your one-stop shop for all things science news. As you probably can guess from our name, we have a radio show that happens every Friday from 2 to 4 p.m. Eastern. So you should sign up to listen. Just really turn on your radio 2 to 4 p.m. on Fridays Eastern time. But we do all other kind of stuff. We have educational resources, we have videos, we have events like this one, we have digital articles, we play trivia all times of the year, really just on Wednesdays. But I'm super excited that you all are here. If you are able to join us in the chat, people are letting us know how they are going to be ringing in the new year. I will not see you between now and then. And so I just need some ideas of what I might be able to do. For instance, the Orion's Belt team is going to be flipping between various TV channels. That's a great idea. Who else is going to be doing things? Tracy, it looks like they're going to be shoveling snow for New Year's. I'm both excited that you're going to get snow because we are nowhere near snow in New York City. It was 60 degrees last week. Eileen is going to be watching Twilight Zone marathon. That is a great idea. I might just join you on that one. So keep letting us know what you are going to be doing for New Year's because I think people are probably going to need some ideas on how to snuggle up and get ready for the new year. But let's get started. If you're new here, I'm going to tell you how this is going to work. We're going to play 3 rounds of trivia in about 90 minutes, and I'm going to introduce our special guest in just a few minutes after I get through all of the rules, so sit tight for that. You are going to answer the trivia questions on forums, and so you are not going to put your answers in the chat, but instead, I've got these forums all ready for you. So I'm putting them in the chat now. You can hold tight onto them, or you can open them all up now, whatever floats your boat works for me. Here's the thing about the answer forums. They are auto scoring, which means I've programmed in the correct answers. And as long as you type that correct answer into the form, it will give you a point. I do go through and check and double check, but your best way of getting the right answer is by keeping your answers simple. I don't usually use articles at the beginning of answers like a and the. Don't use punctuation, all that good stuff. So just keep your answers as simple and you'll be more likely to get a point. The rounds are pretty quick, but we list the questions at the end of each round. So if you need another look at the question, you'll get it at the very end. Again, you can chat with us either below or to the right. Just make sure you're signed into YouTube. That's the best way to chat. And the live stream is just a little bit delayed. So if you ask a question, it might take me a couple seconds to see it, and it'll take a couple seconds for you to hear my answer. So just be patient. And if you have any questions, just put them in the chat whenever. What do you do now? Each team is going to assign a team captain. If you are playing solo, you are the team captain. Congratulations. The captain is going to open all of the answer forums. Again, I just put them in the chat for you, so you can open all of them up right now. Decide on a team name. If you haven't been playing so far, pick a new team name. But our roster that we've been playing with, we have a leaderboard that we've been playing with since the beginning of September is going to end today. And so the top teams are going to be announced at the end of December. So make sure you're playing with the same team name if you come back to play with us another time that you've played. But you can decide on a team name right now if you haven't already. The captain, make sure you put the same team name on all of the forums. If you don't, my forum gets very upset and it will put your scores on for 2 different teams, and that will be very bad. So try not to do that. There are basically only 2 rules. Don't look up the answers online. This is trivia. Please don't cheat. I won't be able to tell, but you will feel bad at the end of the day, and we don't want that. And be kind in the chat. And so you'll notice that people are just friendly chatting in the chat right now about some of the things that they'll be doing for New Year's. I'm all here for it. And sometimes people just have conversations without me, and that's totally fine. I'm all here for it. But the basic rules are to be considerate in the chat. This looks like friendly greetings, not putting your answers in the chats, just saying questions and notice things as they come up. And if you're not on our email list, you can sign up for that literally whenever I send you a reminder every week right before trivia. And that is also a best way to send me questions or let me know about ways I can make trivia a safer, more fun, or generally better experience. So you can email me. It makes my day when you do. What do you win? A fantastic question. I've got all kinds of SciFri goods here in my apartment, and I will send you them, including I've got this fun little tote bag. That's nice. I love that. It's got a little pocket in the front. But oh wait, what's inside? It's 2 copies of Ira Flatow's book, Present at the Future. Oh, that's cool. I got these from the office, and you get to read them and also give one to your friend to read. It's pretty cool. At least I think so. So you'll also win. I've got t-shirts. I've got sunglasses. I got all kinds of Science Friday stuff. So it's a really great bag, as Jamie said, because they have won one. So all right, it's a really great prize, guys. I'm really excited about it. So all right, so we're done with all of the rules. You've got the forms. You're ready to go, but we have to welcome our special guest. So please put your hands together for your host with the very most, Ira Flatow. Hello.
Hey, how is everybody? Nice to meet everybody. Nice to be here.
It is so
Good way to
excited to have you
spend.
here,
Good
Ira.
way to spend the last week of the year. I'm very
It
happy to be
really
here.
is. Yeah, thank
Yeah,
you so much for joining us.
my
How are
pleasure.
you bringing in the new year, Ira?
I'm wearing two sweaters. Actually, that's how I'm going to ring it in. It's cold, I'm going to put an extra sweater on so that I can stay up till 9. That'll
I
be
love it.
great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's about. I might make it to 10:30 this year. Oh, that sounds great though. I think I am also going to partake. I used to watch the all of the marathons that they have at the end of the year, and so I'm just going to look for one and just sit on it
Yeah.
for the rest of the
I,
year.
I I used to do the Twilight Zone marathon, but now you can watch it all year. But it doesn't mean I won't be watching it.
That's a really good
Oh,
point. It's different when it's on
yeah,
cable and you can't
yeah.
fast forward and someone else they give you
Well,
commercials between them. Yeah.
it's like radio because when it's on, when everybody's watching it together, it's like radio, live radio. You have this communal feeling, like, oh no, we're all watching that monster on the wing of the plane together. That sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly. No, I
Well,
totally agree. It is totally a different experience. So,
yeah.
yay. All right, Ira, are you ready for the last Science Friday trivia of the year?
I as ready as I will ever be. So let's
Same.
get at it. Yeah.
Let's get at it. Yeah. All right. So the first round is called 2021 on the radio waves. And so I have picked some of my favorite segments and radio stuff that we've presented on the radio from this year, and just written some trivia questions about them. So some very close listeners might remember some of these things. Most of them are things that we have not talked about on Science Friday Trivia, and so if you've been here, you might have sort of had the right muscles working, but you won't have seen these questions before. So keep that in mind. But let's get right to it. We'll go to question number 1, the same place we always start every round. All right, so all of the following animals were featured as part of our Charismatic Creature Corner, led by producer Kathleen Davis this fall. For 3 weeks, we spoke with biology and conservation experts from across the animal kingdom, and you, our amazing audience, voted for your favorite, not so easily lovable critters. But which animal was ultimately crowned the ultimate charismatic creature this October? Was it A, the mantis shrimp, B, the shoebill stork, C, the opossum, or D, the eye? These are all real
Mhm.
animals. They were all in the Charismatic Creature
Yeah.
Carnival, but
Yeah.
which one was crowned the ultimate winner?
They were all deserving. I remember
They
when we
really
were
were.
talking about they were all deserving of being crowned like the ultimate charismatic creature,
They
or
really were.
UCC, as we say in the hallway.
Yeah.
That,
Yeah. We passed by each other.
yeah. So it's
We
and it's and that's a great little graphic you have up there. That stone with the painting on it.
Isn't that fun? That was created by one of
Yeah.
our fans. So we encouraged people when they were voting to submit photos and artwork or videos of them talking or voice memos of them, chatting away about their favorite charismatic creature. And so someone actually made this and sent it to us as part of their listening to our segments. Um, you can probably guess which they voted for. But it's a really beautiful image of a mantis
Yeah.
shrimp. I just love it so
Beautiful.
much.
Yeah.
Yeah, it came out really good. All right, we're going to move swiftly along to question number 2. Ira, if you wouldn't mind reading this one for us.
Ooh, let me get my radio voice on. Here we go. In March, I spoke with Steve Businger, professor of atmospheric sciences at the University of Hawaii in Manoa, all about rainbows, who made his case that Hawaii might be just the perfect place to see rainbows. He told us about the things you need for a rainbow to happen: sunshine, some rain, and a bit of refraction. In fact, you need a very specific angle that the sunlight hits the raindrops to produce a brilliant rainbow. What specific degree angle did Steve say you need? Hint, we're looking for a number of a specific degree angle to produce a brilliant rainbow.
Yes.
And Diana, when I did this piece, I was so excited when we did this because I wrote a book about almost 20 years, maybe 20 more years ago. Called Rainbows Curveballs. And it explained the phenomena of rainbows. And it was just fantastic. And I'm glad and I discovered that magic angle that's in there at that time also. So
I think I need to reread that book actually because I just recently, as I was writing this question, went back to we have a Sci Candy article that has just beautiful photos, most of them sent by Steve himself to our producers. Um, and I was reading, I I'm just not great with physics or with geometry, and so I'm like reading this description of this angle, and I was like, uh, I think I get it, but I don't quite get it. And so I have to
yeah,
I'm gonna reread your book, I'm gonna re-listen to this segment, I'm gonna reread the article, and then I'll probably be set, but it's hard to know for sure.
yeah.
Um,
Well, I'll
and
explain it when we talk about the answer. I'll explain something that you don't understand. I know
that
what it is.
great. I love it. So we've got Angelica and Christy in the chat here asking about if there's a margin for error or if we're playing Price is Right rules, closest without going over. No, there's no margin for error here, my friends. We need the specific degree refraction angle in.
Mm.
Yes, and we want the angle in degrees. That's right. Yes, Jonathan. So you can just put the number, by the way. So you don't need the degree symbol or the word degrees, just the number in
Mm.
just numerals will get you there. Um,
Wow. After
so
that, you can say you have a degree in rainbows.
yeah,
Where's
that's all it really
where's my
takes.
drum here? I'm sorry.
Steve might have some words to say to us about just handing out rainbow degrees, but we'll
Yeah.
cross that bridge when we get to it. That rainbow bridge when we get to it.
Mm, good.
I
Good
did
one. I
it.
see what you did. You did it.
Thank
You did
you.
it.
All right. We are going to move on to question number 3, which is about watermelons. All right. So, do you all remember summertime when we could venture outdoors without a jacket and barbecue with friends and family to our heart's content? I don't anymore. It was a very long time ago. Well, this summer, Charles Berquist brought us the story of a mysterious melon found on ancient Egyptian paintings. A detailed genetic analysis of a handful of wild melon species and 400 modern varieties of watermelon from around the world found that what melon variety found in Sudan is the closest living relative of the common everyday watermelon. So we are
Hmm.
looking for
Hmm.
the
This
name
is
sort of
yeah.
above the variety.
This is not an easy one. You had to be a listener to this to remember that great
I will
story.
say I remembered the story, and I remember really liking the person that we interviewed, and I had to re-listen to it, and I was just like, man, that is not a thing I would have remembered as part of this. But there are some very smart people who I
Oh
am
yeah,
positive will definitely remember this one.
and I'm looking at him right now. I can
Yeah.
tell.
I don't know about you. Are you a watermelon person, Ira?
Yes, yes. And it's always amazing to me, how do they make seedless watermelon?
I literally have no idea. It seems
There are
counterintuitive,
no
doesn't it?
seeds in it, right? You can't plant the seed. How do they make
You just
seedless
you
watermelon?
just put
Yeah,
one back in the ground and
uh,
see what happens.
that will be the next trivia contest next year when we we'll do that one.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
literally
Ah,
have no idea.
yeah.
All right, we're going to move on to question number 4. Ira, this one's all you. Short and simple.
All mine. Okay, true. I get the tough question. Here it is. True, true or false? Ticks cannot jump. That's the question. True or false? 50% on this multiple guess. Ticks cannot jump. Multiple
That's it.
meaning two. There you go.
That's
Those
it.
ticks, did you collect those ticks in that vial there?
This is from so we originally reported this story in 2019. It was re-aired as part of, I believe, a segment in like April, so about a year after we originally reported it. And this I believe this photo is a Lauren photo. Yeah, Lauren took this
Yeah,
photo.
yeah.
Lauren and Christy went to this uh tick lab
Uh,
where they
I,
milk
I, I think
ticks.
I think I've heard enough. I'm getting a bit
Yeah. Just g
scratchy.
just like yeah, definitely got a little
Yeah,
scratchy after that segment.
yeah,
It's a great
yeah,
segment, but,
yeah.
yeah, definitely felt my skin a little bit
Mm,
during that
mm,
listening, so,
mm.
um so yes, but yeah, the question is Christy is, by the way, conferring
Hey,
it was a
Christy.
lot. It sounded like a lot, Christy, so
SciFri's
thank
own
you for
Christy
going.
Taylor. Yes.
Yeah. Thank you for going so that we did not need to. Instead, I could look at this photo and just go, "Ugh."
Mm.
All right, that's it. We're going to move on to our last question of the round. Question 5. So, ours is not the only quaking planet in the solar system. There are quakes caused by geologic activity on Mars, too. While Mars doesn't have plate tectonics like Earth, other processes, from volcanic activity to planetary cooling, can cause tremors in the ground. For the most part, though, the same rules of geology seem to apply on Mars as they do on Earth. But this summer, two Mars Insight researchers joined us and said that there are hints that Mars quakes might be different in at least one way from earthquakes. What phenomena might have an effect on seismic activity on Mars that does not seem to have an effect on Earth? So these researchers have done research and have looked at research from geologists across the world. We don't believe that this phenomena is the word I'm using here. This phenomena has anything to do, makes any change with geologic activity here on Earth, but they're seeing some evidence that it might have an effect on the Earth, not the earthquakes, the Mars
Yeah,
quakes on
yeah,
Mars. So, what is that thing?
yeah. This is the kind of answer when you hear what it is, you say, "I want to know more about that."
And
You know.
unfortunately, I can tell you no more because there was just like that's what the researchers said. They were like, "There's some inklings that this might be true. We need to do more research," and so
Well,
they'll come back.
that's why we call it trivia, not encyclopedia. It's just a
Exactly.
trivia little
You get
thing.
one fact, and
You
that's it.
get
You got to
what?
go do your
That's
own
it.
research.
That's it. Very well put. Very
I
well
am only
put.
so good as the answers I write, and I don't often know much more past that. So, all right, that is the round, my friends. We got through it nice and
Wow,
fast.
nice and
So,
fast.
here are the questions. We're going to leave you for just about a minute and a half. You are going to listen to a song. You have that long to finalize your answers and submit your forms. Make sure you submit them at the end. And so we're going to let you do that. We'll see you in a minute and a half. Good luck. right, this is your last chance to see the questions, and away they go. All right, we did it. We made it to the end of the round. How are you feeling about the prospects for our trivia players, Ira? Do you think we're going to end up with a lot of yays or a lot of nays?
I think we're gonna do okay. I know that a lot of people have their minds on something else right now. Maybe last minute holiday shopping, and they may be playing the game with us, and they may be, or just listening to it as they're doing, making a Bush Noel. So they're getting that
Yeah,
log got done. So which is
just
what
learning some
we're doing.
fun.
We're doing that in my house.
I
So a
love
bunch
that.
of us are getting that together.
Oh, that
So
sounds nice.
yeah. So I'm hopeful,
I love it. All
optimistic.
right. I'm going to go score. So while we are doing that, as we always do, we are going into the SciFri video vault, and I'm going to show you 3 different videos today. The first one is all about snowflakes. Basically, just how do snowflakes? How do snowflakes? That's basically what the video answers. So if you have not submitted already, now is the time to do it. And we will see you in about 3.5 minutes, everyone. Have fun.
Sure, there's sledding, snowmen, skiing, but a winter storm can also mean safari.
You really just need a snowy day. Take a magnifying glass, go out, and there's all sorts of different things you can see.
That's Ken Liebrecht. He's a physicist at Caltech who also happens to be a snowflake expert. He's been hunting flakes for years and documenting them before they melt with this microscope camera rig.
I travel with that. The hard part is getting it through airport security.
Snow crystals come in roughly 35 flavors, Liebrecht says. Some more common than others, of course.
Stellar dendrites are pretty common. These are your standard sort of shopping mall snowflake with 6 branches.
Then there's the variant, fern-like stellar dendrites.
And they look like little bitty ferns.
Also common are
needles and columns. One of my favorites are capped columns.
Which look kind of like a satellite or
2 wheels on an axle. Unfortunately, the most common thing you'll find is just kind of junky-looking snow that looks like sand.
The least common, the ivory-billed woodpecker of snowflakes, is big.
5 millimeters in diameter, nicely symmetrical with lots of intricate markings. Those are really gorgeous, and they're hard to find.
But you can increase your chances if you seek out snowflake hotspots.
Northern Ontario is a good spot. Vermont and Michigan have their merit. Northern Japan actually is pretty good. Kind of anxious to try Siberia.
See, certain conditions breed better crystals.
The best temperature is around 5 degrees Fahrenheit. Sometimes, though, you can see really nice crystals just below freezing.
Okay, a little review of where snowflakes come from. They're born in the clouds. It all starts with a speck of dust or a bacterium.
Gunk in the air.
And the gunk floats around the cloud
For half a mile.
picking up water molecules.
And they shuffle around a little bit until they find the right spot to sit in, and then the water molecules themselves are lined up in this little hexagonal array. That's where the order is generated.
And that order is what makes it a crystal.
And as it grows larger, the points of the hexagon stick out a little bit into the air, so each of the 6 corners sprouts an arm. And that's sort of one of the things we're trying to understand in detail is just how crystals grow.
The details of that growth are determined by the microenvironment the flake encounters as it travels through the cloud.
When the humidity is low, the crystals grow slow, and when the humidity is high, they grow fast.
In other words, a flake's identity is shaped by the environment it grows up in. And because 2 snow crystals aren't likely to follow the exact same path, you're not likely to find 2 of the exact same flake. Just how environment affects crystal growth is something Liebrecht studies in the lab by growing his own snowflakes.
We call these designer snowflakes. You can sort of dial up what you want.
Give it the right environment and something to grow on, and it'll build itself.
It's a really nice example of how really complicated structures can just emerge spontaneously. It's not alive, it has no DNA or anything like that, no genetic code. It just happens. If we understand more about how it works, we'll be able to use it for something. Or at the very least, we'll just understand how it works.
Happy New Year. For Science Friday, I'm Flora Lichtman.
That's a very seasonal topic.
Right. There's an Easter egg in that video.
Is there? Tell us.
Yeah, the bottom right corner where the logo was Science Friday's original logo, made by my brother Carl, who was a graphic artist back in the day.
I
And
love it.
so
It's got such a look.
And I love Flora Lichtman's very simple animations that she does on these things. Great artistic work.
You'll see in the chat, but everybody loves Flora's videos. They are kind of like a classic here at the at SciFri Trivia. I love them too. All right, let's get to the answers. I will say, there are a lot of 4s out of 5s in this round, so I think I've got a lot of 3s as well. So I got to make this a little bit harder for everybody, I think. But you're doing great. I'm very proud. So, the answers for question 1, we asked about the charismatic creature corner, and we asked who won. Do you remember who won? Many of you did. It was the extremely charismatic opossum. So I love that.
I think that was surprising to a lot of people.
It was surprising to me. I was absolutely convinced that the mantis shrimp would win. It got a lot of votes right off the bat during its first round. And then the opossum won. It was like there was a 3-way. So it was you could either vote for the mantis shrimp, the shoebill stork, or the possum in the final round. And for every 1 vote that the mantis shrimp and the shoebill stork got, 3 votes were given to the opossum. So it really was a runaway win.
Wow. Yeah.
I know.
But
if you haven't seen a shoebill stork, by the way, you gotta. They are
and the eye too. Check that out.
Long fingers, yeah. It's a little unsettling, but they are definitely charismatic. We can give them that. Next, we asked you for that very specific refraction angle that Steve Businger said you need to make a rainbow. He's the expert. He knows. 42 degrees.
42 degrees.
You need it to be a 42-degree refraction. So otherwise, too little, too much, you're not going to see a rainbow. So it's a very specific thing.
That's why you'll see them in the morning or the evening, because the sun has to be low enough in the sky so that you get that angle. And a lot of times the sun will be behind you. It'll be behind you because it's got to shine into the cloud. So
I love that.
Yeah. It's great stuff.
Yeah. So don't go out looking for like a noontime rainbow.
No.
You might see one, but it's gonna be high up if you do it all.
Yeah, you might hear Kermit, but you won't see the rainbow.
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry.
Question number 3 was about watermelons, and so we're looking for a melon variety that is now found in Sudan that is the closest living relative to the thing we know as a watermelon today, and it is called a Kordofan watermelon or melon. And so this is a specific kind of melon, again, from Sudan area, and that is its closest relative. If you spelled it differently, I gave it to you. Some people spelled it with a C, and if you come to Science Friday Trivia, you know I am not a stickler for spelling, unless it is like if you spell my name with an E at the end instead of an A, then I'll get. I actually don't really mind. I actually barely notice. But in this case, I was kind with spelling. So you're welcome for everyone who wrote it with a C.
You're lucky you don't have to spell my name. That's all I have to say.
A lot of P's, it's so funny.
A lot of N's at the end of my name, first name.
Really?
I had 62 ways once put up on my bulletin board to spell my name. So it was. It's hard to believe that you could, but it is.
I kind of believe it. I get a lot of emails, and so I've gotten Donna, I've gotten Diane, I've gotten Deandra. So believe it or not. All right. Question 4, we've simply asked, is it true or false that ticks cannot jump? It's true, everybody. You can see more photos. There's not as many about ticks, so there's just some cool other photos of Lauren and Christy on their reporting trip. This is the most up-close one, I believe. But you can learn more about ticks there. But it is true that ticks cannot jump, so which is why if you are if you're just going on a hike on a normal day and you're walking through high grass, maybe with some shorts on instead of pants, It's just they don't advise it because that's exactly how ticks get onto you is by essentially being at the ready and sort of being on the very end of these tall grasses. So they can't jump. So don't walk through tall grasses. And if you're gonna wear long pants, they can't latch onto you as easily.
Yeah, they practice that a lot. You see them practicing that in the Grand. I'm just making that up. I just making that so they're good at it.
They do their best. They don't have very
Yes.
strong legs. They skipped leg
Yeah.
day.
You
Yeah.
hear little noises. Oh, I missed. Sometimes.
That's just a tiny tick getting frustrated. Yeah.
Sorry.
All right. And our last question was about Mars quakes. And we asked basically what makes the difference essentially between earthquakes and Mars quakes. And essentially the answer is the seasons. So the seasons is what is the difference. They don't exactly know why, but they said that they are noticing some slight difference in the seasons of when these Mars quakes are happening. So yes, a few of you wrote things like the carbon dioxide expansion as the seasons change. And so I did give it to you because you mentioned season change and you mentioned frozen and solid carbon dioxide. That's kind of what they think it might be as well. And so I did give it to you. I couldn't give it to you if you wrote things like, there were some teams that wrote things like just cooling or heating, and it's not quite that because Mars has seasons the same reason we do. It's because of our tilt, and it doesn't have to do with the actual rotation around the Earth, the fact that it's an elliptical rotation, I guess. What's the word I'm looking for? Anyway, it's Wednesday night. My brain doesn't work anymore. But it's not weather. It's not solar heating, guys. I'm so sorry. So you had to mention something about seasons.
It's not being closer to the sun is what you were looking for, I think.
Exactly. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
You're very helpful.
We all know just about this year on Earth, we are the closest to the sun, even though we're in dead winter.
Is that true?
Absolutely. January,
early
January.
Oh, very cool. All right. I'll go into the darkest days knowing actually it's now becoming not quite the lightest days, but it's heading towards the lightest days. So I'm happy about that.
The days are lengthening in the afternoon, but not in the morning. The mornings are still getting
the sun
shorter.
is still moving. It's a bummer. I'd rather have it at the evening, so I'm fine with that. All right. So we're going to show you the round one scores. Here are the top 10 teams, and I'm going to read all of the team scores starting at the very bottom. It looks like one team caught in a little late, so if you don't hear your name, I will update it for the next time, but I cannot update it at this moment. Okay, so teams that currently did not make it onto the board at all. They didn't quite get a point yet, but that's okay. There's still 2 more rounds. Those teams are the Professor and the Castaways, Space Explorers, Brown Dirt Cowboys, and Accidental Feta. You don't have any points yet, but that's okay. With 1 point, we've got teams Ultraviolet, Sweltering Swifts, Snake River River Snakes, Sinache, Sea Muskrats, SciFri Geeks, Pinchy, Nightbird 2021, Nebula Knights, Hippies, Herpetophilia, Dancing Fish, CB is Cuter, Hill Climbers, Bone Alone, Beeswax, and Too Tired to Care. You all have 1 point. With 2 points, we got a bunch of teams. Trace Cabezas, Team Cute, Sacramento Kings, Rogers Family, Prairie Schooners, Nikki, Never Forget, Magnificent Manatees, Los Gatos, Leo DeGrant's Musdaira, nice, I like it, Just Me McGee, Harumphs, Fox Kit, Buckeye 5, Betty and the Beakers, and Bentley. You all have 2 points. With 3 points, we've got Saskatoon Smarties, the Purple Mice, Orion's Belt, Greek God of Revelry, Dejamin Lux, and Cinder Squid with 4 points. We've got 3 teams, Trained Observers, Team Aries, and Argonauta, and the extremely observant and the people who have a very good brain up here, Sibling Rivals. You got 5 points. Congratulations. Woo!
Yay,
all right, that was
yay.
a lot of teams, y'all.
That was a lot
glad
of
you all here.
Wow, it seems like
usually
a lot
doesn't
of teams.
take me that long, but well done.
Nice
all right,
names,
with
too.
that, I know I'm a big fan of some of the newer names I saw here include Accidental Feta. I think that's great. I really like that name. I liked that Leo DeGrant's Must Die is normally this team's name, but they put a D with an apostrophe and wrote Ira, so
Oh,
I
oh,
like it.
thank you.
They made it themed
Thank
for
you.
today, so big fan. All right. Amazing. Okay, so we're going to move swiftly along to round 2, everyone. So this is called 2021 on the non-radio waves. And so these are all questions about things that Science Friday has done in the last year, but haven't been on the radio. So our videos, our educational resources, some of our past events. And so we have questions about those things. So let us move swiftly along. Question number 1. In this spring's Science Diction episode about the word ambergris, host Johanna Mayer spoke with Christopher Kemp, who wrote a whole book about the waxy, smelly substance that is produced by sperm whales. And we'll spare you the nitty-gritty details, but you should listen to the episode. It is very good. After trivia, of course. What member of the royal family added ambergris to their meals, supposedly by adding grated ambergris to their eggs? So this specific royal person. So we're looking for one member of a royal family. I'm not going to give away which one, but a royal of some kind would actually add ambergris to a meal that they would eat by grating it onto eggs. And I don't know about you, Ira. I'm not a huge fan of those. What are those fancy mushrooms? Truffles. I'm not a big truffle person, but people like rant and rave about how great they are. And I feel like this is kind of an absurd version of that.
I'm wondering, what kind of eggs do you bake? Sunny side up, scrambled? I mean, over easy? If you're going to add ambergris to it,
You know,
have they looked into this?
It's a great question. I
You
do
know,
like scrambled eggs, but I wonder, I think that this person it was more of like a dish that had an egg, almost like a sunny side up
a
egg in it.
souffle or something like
Yeah.
that,
Oh,
or
souffle. I might just take a bite out of a souffle that has ambergris in it
deviled
just
eggs.
to
You
know.
can go on, and
Not a big
gosh, a
deviled
little bit
eggs
of
fan, but
a little bit of white sauce on there and some cheese. I'm sorry.
all right, now you're making me
Stick
hungry.
with the question. Yes.
All right, so we are looking for a name of a royal. For instance, okay, someone is asking name or title. So we're looking for the name. And so for instance, if so I would need I'm trying to if it's not Prince Harry, and so let's just say if you wanted to answer Prince Harry, you would write Prince Harry. You wouldn't just write the word Harry. So give me as much as you possibly can, knowing that often many royals shared first names, and so they are only, I can only tell them apart if you give me a little bit more information. So do your best. Do your best is my answer to that. All right, we're going to move swiftly along to question number 2. And Ira, if you wouldn't mind reading this one for us.
I will certainly do that. My pleasure. This May, we published a digital article by Lauren Young all about the big sagebrush, aka Artemisia tridentata. I think I got that right. 18 sagebrush species grow throughout North America's Great Basin that spans Nevada, Utah, Idaho, Oregon, and California, and is a favorite treat for pygmy rabbits and sage grouse alike. What color are the small blooming flowers? What color are they? Are they A, yellow, B, pink, C, white, D, purple? What color are these small blooming flowers of this big sagebrush? Yeah.
I just reread this article. It is what an interesting plant, first of all. But also, there's just I mentioned here, there's just so many animals that eat this specific thing, and it just seems like kind of the cutest stuff in a desert like area. There's sage grouses are the ones that have the males have those yellow sort of pouches that they make the sort of like blup, 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 blup kind of sound with when they're doing a mating call.
Right.
Great animal, fantastic. And not just rabbits, but pygmy rabbits. Sign me up. I will hang out with these animals any day.
I see. Ryan Randall writes, I believe that jackalope also loved the big sagebrush.
You joke, but we don't know for sure.
You're in the jackalope camp, huh? Maybe they hang
Well,
out with
listen,
Yeti. You never
I
know that may be where they are.
this like it was like early, I don't know, May. I was driving through rural New Jersey and this tiny weird animal jumped across on a misty, rainy day. It was like 11 p.m. This tiny animal ran across the road and none of us know what it was. We all tried to draw photos of it later. Half convinced I saw a jackalope. So you
Well,
all joke, but
well,
and I
well. The
and
key
I'm not easy to
question,
convince.
the key question that Jerseyites would ask is, what exit was it? So
Yeah,
you have.
exactly. It's around 7A, so it's right
There
in the
you go.
middle. Yeah.
Exactly.
All right, so what was the color? So jackalopes aside, what color is the small blooming flowers of the sagebrush? Is it yellow, pink, white, or purple? And with that, we move on to question number 3. So this fall, a few SciFri staff members descended on the Staten Island Museum, where we saw Magic Cicada, a art exhibition by textile designer Jennifer Angus, and we just published a whole video about it. So again, after this, you should go watch it. It's great. The show leans on the museum's long history and collections of cicadas, the magic of their 17-year life cycle, and the Victorian era aesthetics to create wonder from dead creatures and that can sometimes elicit disgust, believe it or not. It's the perfect place for such a display. After all, the Staten Island Museum has one of the largest collections of cicadas in the world, with about how many collected cicadas? So I will give you a guess here, or I'm sorry, a hint here. The hint is that the answer is somewhere between 1,000 and 100,000 insects. And I will accept answers within 1,000. So I'm being kind here. Everyone always asks me for a margin of error, and this time you got it. So if you're within 1,000 of the correct answer, I will give you the point. So do your
Oh,
best,
but
everybody.
so if you're between 1,000 and 100,000, then you're within 1%. You have to be of that number for 1,000. So
There you go.
you have a running start right there to come
Yeah,
up with the right answer. Yep.
exactly. Yes. So we have a friend who we have someone who is in the chat. Hello, new friend. It looks like you just joined us. We are not putting the answers in the chat, but if you'd like to join us by putting your answers in the round form, that is the best place to do it. So you can put your answers. We're playing round 2 right now. And so you can put your answers in the form and it will be scored at the end. So again, do your very best, everyone.
Hmm.
Yeah. So
I like how you phrase that question. SciFri members descended on the Staten Island Museum as if they were cicadas. Like, it's like
we did a
kind of a
little bit do
reference.
that. Yeah. We did just kind of
Ah,
like zoom in all of a sudden. We're like, hello, we're all here. Please
you're all
entertain
here.
us with your bugs.
Did
It
you
was a
take the
pretty great
ferry
day.
over? Take the ferry when you went
Did
over?
not. I do in fact own a car, and so I did ferry in my car a few coworkers over to Staten Island. It was a wonderful day. I kind of wish I did take the ferry. It was a little cold that day,
Ah,
so I'm happy that we didn't
yeah.
have to. But one day I'll be back on that bright orange ferry once again.
Great ride. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, we are moving on to question number 4. Ira, if you wouldn't mind reading this one.
Oh, absolutely. Because we're talking about Cephalopod Week, our favorite week of the year. During Cephalopod Week, we encourage supporters to become part of our Sea of Support. That means for every $8 donated, listeners would have one of 8 cephalopod illustrations featured on our website in their honor. Here it is. Which of the following cephalopods was not available as a choice for this year's Sea of Support? Was it A, blanket octopus, B, nautilus, C, flamboyant cuttlefish, or D, bobtail squid? Which cephalopod was not available?
Yeah, so you really had to be paying attention here.
I hope they weren't insulted, the ones that were.
I
Which,
know.
which
We could
one
there's
was
so
not a,
many good ones. So
ah,
if we're only gonna illustrate 8, you gotta pick at some point.
yeah, we love our cephalopods.
They are so good.
And
I'm
every
already talking
summer,
to people about Cephalopod Week, and I'm very excited for it this year.
and there's no end to the number of stories we can come up because they're so wonderful. They have
There
so many
really
different things
isn't.
going on. Yeah.
And if so, Luke Groskin, who is our video producer, he is already just started to like post some great stories on our Slack channel all about cephalopods. And the Marine Biological Lab every year just has such cool stuff that they come up with, or do research about every year. And they just have some really amazing stuff coming out of their labs. And it has just been such a pleasure to be a part of Cephalopod Week, so that I just get to talk to these people like once or twice a year, like, hey, what's going on? Anything new? And they're like, yes, all this very cool stuff. So if we are lucky, we'll be able to meet some new cephalopods next year. So I'm looking forward to it. All right, so once again, the question is, which one of these cephalopods was not available as a choice? So 3 of these were, one of them was not: blanket octopus, nautilus, flamboyant cuttlefish, or bobtail squid. And we are going to move on to our last question of the round, which is all about bee butts. In April, we spent the month celebrating citizen science, the projects and everyday people who help researchers collect and understand scientific data better. We talked a lot about pollinators and the plants they visit throughout the spring, including adorable bumblebees. And we wrote a whole educational resource about a sixth sense that helps bees locate flowers full of pollen for the taking. What phenomena am I talking about? So these bees can detect some other sixth sense. So again, I'm saying sixth sense as if they have, the 5, which are, sight, hearing, smelling, what are the other ones? Taste. And hearing, did I say that way? Anyway, the classic 5. Imagine that they have all 5. I actually am pretty sure they do, but now I feel like I've said too much. Anyway, there's another sense that we don't have that bees do. They can detect something. And what is that thing? We wrote a educational resource about this sort of sixth sense that bees have and are able to detect. So what is that phenomena?
And they have the good sense to have that sense.
Nice. So they do. They're very smart, these bees.
We learned in Science Friday last week that they can be addicted to caffeine. If
yes,
that was wild. That was crazy.
They're just like us, bees. They really are just like us. I have a lot in common with this bee. All right. And with that, we are at the end of round 2. So again, here are all of the questions from the round. We are going to leave you with a song, and you are going to have about a minute and a half to submit your form. So good luck, everyone. We'll see you in a couple minutes. All right, this is your last chance to see the questions, and they're gone. Great job, everybody. We had a quick, so if you haven't submitted your form yet, which it looks like most of you have, Jamie had a question about, so you want what they detect, meaning the bees. Yes, and so you could either put the thing that they detect or the process. Honestly, I will take both. I'm seeing both in the answers right now. And so if you answered one of those things, you're good. And then Steve was asking once again, just for the names of the cephalopods, they should be a multiple choice question. But again, those options were blanket octopus, nautilus, flamboyant cuttlefish, and bobtail squid. If you're not seeing those for some reason, make sure to refresh the form and then submit it. I'll give you a couple of extra seconds to submit your form before I start actually grading. So good luck, everyone. All right. And with that, we have made it to the end of round 2, and that means I need to show you another video. So would you believe it, Ira? I've got another video about snowflakes.
No, I love snowflakes. And I just want to mention everybody should notice you're sporting your magnificent holiday chapeau that you have on today.
Yes,
So-
I'm fully ready for the cold days and the long days of wearing these headphones, which I like very much, but are hard to wear at the end of the day. So, yes, so I am prepared for the season. I hope you all are too. And we're going to watch another video about snowflakes. So this is all about how you too can grow your own snowflake. So enjoy the video, and we'll see you in about 3 minutes, everybody.
No need to dream of a white Christmas this year. Make your own winter wonderland. Okay, that might be pushing it.
The experiment is to watch some snow crystals grow in a plastic bottle, an empty Coke bottle.
This is Ken Liebrecht's experiment, Caltech physicist and snowflake guru. Other than the bottle, you'll need a bucket,
A sponge, and
fishing line, needles and pins, but really,
one can improvise a lot of things.
except this.
The dry ice is probably the most difficult thing to get, but you can get it at a lot of grocery stores now,
It's frozen CO2 and it's way colder than regular ice.
around 60 below.
Please handle with mittens.
The first thing is to cut the bottle. Then one mounts the sponge in the bottom of the bottle, and then attach a string to the bottom as well.
Tie a paper clip to the line to weigh it down.
Put the dry ice inside there and the bottle in that.
We insulated the bucket with a dish towel and some newspaper, which seemed to work fine.
And when it's all ready to go, you put the sponge back on.
Oh, and wet the sponge. Water vapor will feed your crystal's growth.
And so the idea then is you've got the bottom part of the bottle is very cold, and the top part of the bottle is warm because it's exposed to the room, and it's got a nice moist sponge.
The water evaporates from the sponge and travels around the bottle as vapor, but the warmer air on the top can hold more vapor than the colder air.
Air gets very cold, the air gets supersaturated, so the humidity is above 100%. And at that point, crystals will grow on the string.
The vapor molecules attach to the ice, building a crystal. But it's more like frost than a snowflake. In clouds, the process is slightly different. There, water droplets, not vapor, form the flakes.
And it takes about 100,000 droplets to make one snowflake.
This lovely crystal took about an hour to form. The crystals only grow at certain temperatures. That means that they don't grow everywhere along the string, and different structures will grow in different places.
The fish bones form at around 23 degrees Fahrenheit. They look like fish bones, little tiny fish bones. And as you go further down, around 5 degrees, you'll get sort of stellar dendrite crystals. And then as you go colder, you get other types of crystals, but the water vapor is used up before you get to those low temperatures, and so not too much grows really low on the string.
Is it known why certain temperatures breed certain shapes?
No, this is not understood at all, in fact. Why the growth of ice depends so sensitively on temperature.
That's what Liebrecht studies. His snow crystal maker operates on the same premise as ours, but it's slightly fancier.
We have a bigger chamber, and we have a microscope looking in from the side, so we can really watch the crystals grow in detail.
But for about $5, this is hard to beat. And if you can't find any dry ice,
Every now and then I will pull a popsicle out of the freezer, and there'll be a really beautiful hexagonal crystal or two growing on the surface of the popsicle.
I love that. Just at the end, just, you know what? If you don't want to make a whole thing, just pull out a popsicle.
Do you know how many trivia questions are in that film? Like how many
Don't I know it?
raindrops does it take to make one snowflake? It was in there, we could
Pay
future. I
attention,
mean, it was
everyone.
so many in that one.
Yeah, you're very right. And a lot of people also mentioned it's great activity for New Year's Eve. I totally agree. And that the music is so good. The
Music,
music is very good. Lots
big
of good
band, old
jazz.
music. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's great
yeah.
stuff.
All right, let us get to the answers for round two. The first question we asked you about was this royal family member who supposedly added ambergris to their eggs. I don't know. I'm not really here for it, but supposedly it was King Charles II who would do this. I don't know. He lived in
See,
the
that's why you're not
1600s.
part of the royal family, because you wouldn't
This
do
is a
that.
good point.
It's the
This is a
very
really good
simple
point.
answer.
I
That's
have
why
some
you're there.
lines that I won't cross.
That's why you're here and they were there. Yeah.
Exactly. Yes. I write the trivia questions about them. They eat ambergris. It's fine. You know what? I've made my choice. It's totally fine. They also King Charles II lived in the 1600s, and so I don't know. Maybe they had some weird things happening back then. They
Yeah.
certainly did.
Yeah.
So we'll let them have their thing. All right. So we then asked you about the big sagebrush out in the Great Basin, and we asked what color are their blooming flowers? They're yellow. Aren't they cute? Yes, so they're very small and they are yellow. But as I was reading this article, there's lots of photos of them sort of interspersed with yellow, like other colored flowers, like pink and purples. And that's because they're sort of like nursery flowers. They sort of like um, cushion other flowers so that they can grow easier sort of inside of the sagebrush. And so you will see some sagebrush that have like I forget what they're called, but they're those like very bright, vibrant pink flowers. They're called like painted something. And you'll see them sort of interspersed with the sagebrush flowers. It's pretty cool. And if you want to, read more if you want to read more about that, you can go to sciencefriday.com/sagebrush. Oh, and by the way, some people are asking, including Christy, can we get half points if we're including the second in our answer? Well, you didn't get the point if you just wrote Charles, by the way, for our question number one. If you just wrote Charles, you didn't get the point. So sorry about that, everybody, but I did ask you to be specific. So I couldn't take it if you didn't write the second, because there were many others.
Wow.
And so
The
unfortunately,
Charles
sorry,
I know
everybody.
always gets the point. So yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. All right. So our third question rather, was about the Staten Island Museum and its collection of cicadas. And I asked how many actual cicadas do they have in their collection? The answer is about 36,000. So if you answered anywhere from 35,000 to 37,000, you did get the point. It's a lot. It's a lot of
Yeah.
cicadas. I I was like, I have to give them some kind of cushion because I mean, millions of cicadas come out every year. And could you imagine if a person just walked around just picking up cicadas? So, um, yeah. So it's a
I
lot.
can't imagine. No.
There were
I,
so
I
many
mean, I'm sure
cicadas,
there
though.
are. Yeah.
Yeah, in
But
this exhibition, I didn't count them. I'm sure that someone knows. But yes. Oh, yes. Oh, I'm so sorry. Christy is asking for clarification, by the way. If you wrote the word the second, you did get the point. So sorry. I misunderstood what you were asking. Yeah, if you wrote the word the second, you got the point. If you wrote two with a numeral, you got the point. If you wrote two eyes, you also got the point. Any way of writing Charles II, you got it. So you'll see that in your answers. Don't worry. But anyway, if you wrote 36,000 in Roman numerals, you couldn't get the point because I don't even know what that would be. I'm not very good
how,
with Roman numerals, so
how, what about the ones in zeros? Could you get that one? If a little
no,
binary? No. Okay.
no. There's no world in which that's true. Something I could possibly do. So
Okay.
you had to write 36,000. All right. Okay, so we're going to move on to question number 4. We asked about our cephalopods, and the one that you had that you could not get as part of the CF support was a bobtail squid. So here were all of the choices that you could choose, and unfortunately, bobtail squid, no matter how much we like them, was not one that we could do.
Yeah. Yeah. It's too bad. You know. It's a beautiful squid.
It really is, and they're so small, so very, very small. So, someone in the chat, by the way, thank you, Robert, for pointing out a question that Michelle had. Michelle was asking, how do I get to the question answer place? So I think you might be asking about the form. So if you want to answer the questions, we have forms for them. So we're through round 2 right now, but round 3 is about to start. Just in case, I'm going to put round 3 form so you can get it ready for next round. But right now we're in round 2, so we're almost done. Okay, so cephalopods, yes. So keep your calendars up to date, by the way. Cephalopod week next year is in June. It's likely going to be
Yes.
June 10th to 17th. So you heard it here first. We're very excited about it.
Absolutely.
All right, our last question of the round was about this adorable bee here. And I asked what essentially sixth sense do bumblebees have that they can see the world slightly differently than we do, or sense the world slightly differently than we do, so that they can help them locate flowers full of pollen. A lot of you guessed ultraviolet, which is part of how they see the world differently, but the resource he wrote about is actually about static electricity. And so bees can actually sense static electricity in these flowers that have pollen still in them. And so they're essentially drawn to these flowers, and the pollen, in the other direction, pollen actually better sticks to them because of the static electricity. So not only do they feel that static pull, but they also use the static to help it stick to them. So I could not count magnetism, my friends. I could not count magnetism. I'm so
Not the
sorry.
same
So
thing. Yeah.
it's not
Not the
quite the
same.
same thing. Yes. And so if you wrote magnetism, if you wrote something like magnetic fields, not quite right. And so sorry, you've learned something new today. Static electricity, magnetism, just a little bit different. And so I couldn't take the point. You did have to say something about static charge or static electricity for me to give you the point. So congrats
They
to all the
suffer
teams
from
who
that.
did.
Suffer from that dreaded static cling that we hear so much about.
Yes. There's a
Yes.
very cute, if you go to the article, by the way, if you go to sciencefri.com/bee pollen, you'll see that there's sort of like a simulation where you can sort of like rub a foot back and forth on a placemat, and then you can touch a handle, and the person gets zapped with static electricity. So pretty cute. It made me laugh. So if you want to have a good evening, that's a good way to have a good evening
Yeah,
tonight.
it'll work well in the dry winter weather too. So
Yeah,
now's
exactly.
the time
Yeah.
to do it.
We're back in that, yeah. All right, so here are the top 10 teams, by the way, that are pulling ahead in trivia tonight. I'm going to read all of the scores so far. So we've got a few teams who are doing their best, just really doing their best, but they haven't made it on the scoreboard yet. That's okay. We have the Professor and the Castaways, Space Explorers, and Galvanized Steel. No points so far, but that's okay. There's still a round left. 1 point, we've got Sweltering Swifts, Nebula Knights, Hippies, Dancing Fish, Hill Climbers, Brown Dirt Cowboys, Beeswax, Accidental Feta, and Too Tired to Care. You've all got 1 point. With 2 points, bunch of teams: Ultraviolet, Trace Cabezas, Snake River River Snakes, Sea Muskrats, Sacramento Kings, Prairie Schooners, Pinchy, Nightbird 2021, Nikki, Los Gatos, Hrumps, Green Fluorescent Proteins, Fox Kits, CB is Cuter, and Bone Alone. You all have 2 points. With 3 points, we've got Sinache, SciFri Geeks, Rogers Family, Magnificent Manatees, Likes Lichens, Leo DeGrantz, Mustira, Jasmine McGee, Herpetophilia, Betty and the Beakers, and Bentley. With 4 points, we've got Team Cute, Saskatoon Smarties, Never Forget, Greek God of Revelry, and the Cinder Squids. With 5 points, Purple Mice, the Orion's Belt, and Buckeye 5. 6 points, the Gem and Lux. With 8 points, tied for second place, we've got Team Aries and Argonauta, and Trained Observers and Sibling Rivals are tied at the top with 9 points. Congratulations, team. You're all doing great. Oh, and Ariel, by the way, who is our education director and wrote this article about, or rather this educational resource about bee static, that little sort of.
It's John Travolta. She wrote. Good one, Ariel. It's good to hear that one.
doll that has static electricity is doing a little funny thing. Can you hear me?
You're dropping in and out a bit.
Oop, there we go. Everyone is watching. Everyone's streaming Netflix right now. They're trying to get all of the streaming in for the winter. So sorry about that, everybody. But it looks like we're back. And so we are going to move on to our last round, which is always the same for basically every week. Round number 3 is last week on Science Friday. So if you listen to the show, you get a heads up. And we talked just about some of the really cool stuff that we talked about last week on the show. Ira, you were away last week. John Dankosky was our special guest host for that week. I'm assuming you listened in and you studied for trivia as much as everybody else.
Absolutely. I take it very seriously. It's
oh my
nothing
gosh,
trivial about trivia.
Nice. Yes. All right. So we're going to move on. We're going to do it. We're going to start where we always do. Question number 1, everyone. It can be tough going out along the coast of Maine for the Atlantic puffin, or for me as the trivia host. After they had difficulty living side by side with local humans in the 1800s, these charismatic birds saw a comeback in the 1970s, thanks to efforts from the Audubon Society and other dedicated volunteers. And now, in peak years, more than 400 can be found nesting on islands along the shore, even though they are meeting a new adversary, climate change. But the question is, what is the name of the famous island at the southern edge of the Puffins Range, where you can find puffins, other seabirds, and also conservation researchers who are carefully monitoring these birds? So, yes, if you go to Maine and you want to see puffins, and you want to see birds on this famous island, you have to be very careful, because I made this mistake of booking a tour on this island, which was unfortunately 2.5 hours minimum, I believe, maybe, from the park where I was actually camping. So you have to be very careful that you are staying close enough that you can actually go and see these birds. And instead, I donated my money to a very nice conservation organization, and saw different puffins. But it's supposed to be pretty amazing. Yeah, it's just the whole video that we made is on this island. It's pretty cool. Have you seen puffins in real life, Ira?
No, I haven't. I've seen penguins in real life, but I haven't seen puffins. I've seen blue-footed boobies, but they're on my bucket list.
That's
They're
cool.
such gorgeous birds, and Maine is not so far away, so I'll have to take a drive up there to see them.
And Maine is just beautiful. Highly recommend hiking in Maine. It is some of the best hiking I've done.
Yeah, Acadia National Park, can't top it.
It's really beautiful. Yeah. All right, we are ready for question number 2. Ira, if you wouldn't mind taking it away.
Okay, here we go. Thomas Moore, not that old Tom. Thomas Moore, professor of physics at Rollins College in Winter Park, Florida, came on the show last week to talk about his research into different types of masks and their effects on songs we hear from choirs and other singers. He worked on visualizing the exhaled breath of singers and wind instruments, and made the case that the need for adequate ventilation and airflow are key to allowing the arts to go forward in an age of COVID. Okay, here it is. Besides singing voices, what wind instrument did Thomas mention was part of his research? Besides singing voices, what wind instrument did Thomas mention was part of this research?
Yes.
I think if you think about it a little bit, you might come up with a good guess if you don't know it. So
totally. Yes.
Mhm.
I when I was writing this question, I was like, the way I've worded it kind of assumes that a singing voice is a wind instrument, and I was like, it kind of is. Like, our voices
Oh,
are
yes.
propelled and made by the movement of air through our lungs, right? So
Well, yeah. Yeah, I
I think I
think
could argue
singers
it.
probably do, if you ask Bette Midler or somebody, she'd probably say that, yeah, it's an instrument. I consider
Yeah.
it to be my instrument. Yeah.
And there's a moment where we hear some singing from a singer using different masks and also without a mask. It's really beautiful. They chose a really wonderful singer and a beautiful sort of line of a song for her to sing. And the difference is so interesting. So in the images here, A is no a person singing without a mask. B is with a traditional sort of mask, a two-layer cotton mask, and C is what they call a singer's mask, and so it sort of pushes, comes out a little bit more. And the way that Thomas sort of described it was like a duckbill. And I looked up the images of it later. It does look like a duckbill, and it's really cute. So if you get a chance to look up singing mask, not the Masked Singer, that's a whole different thing.
No, it's not the Broadway play either. With
Yeah,
the
exactly. Yeah.
Phantom is not part of this one. No.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
no, no.
Yeah.
Instead, just just a singing mask. It'll probably come up if you look for it. They're pretty cool. They're pretty interesting looking. And I remember when we first started wearing masks, I was always so just like, oh, it's touching my lips. I don't like it, but you get used to it after a while, it
Yeah.
turns out. All right, that was question 2. We're going to move on to question number 3. So the James Webb Telescope will be launching very soon, likely this or maybe next week. They just pushed back the launch day by a day, so we'll see what
It's always a
happens.
week away, the telescope.
It's
in
always a
history.
week away, this
It's always a
telescope.
week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it depends on weather conditions, but it could be as soon as this Saturday. It's a successor to the Hubble telescope only in the scientific or sort of historical sense. That is, from an engineering sense, it's a totally different kind of telescope. So Hubble sees optical light like we do, but the Webb telescope will see in infrared, which is why it actually needs to be in deeper space than the Hubble does. It needs to be really, really cold. So essentially, it doesn't see itself glowing when it looks out into space. So it sort of needs to be really, really cold. So it's not sort of adjusting or messing with the images it takes. So according to last week's guest, Amber Strawn, who is, by the way, the deputy project scientist for James Webb Space Telescope. How many times bigger than Hubble's mirror is the mirror on the Webb telescope? So it is bigger. it is bigger. How many times bigger is the question? The best way to write this answer is just with the numeral that you think. So if you think it is 100 times bigger, 100 is the way that you will answer that. You don't have to get fancy with it. Just the number will get you the answer. So bigger, that's a good question, Jonathan. Bigger in terms of area or a diameter. So we're talking about area. So not just sort of across. It's not just across, but sort of how much bigger in total area is it? Yes. So it is. We're looking for the area of this one. Good question, everyone. So not just the diameter. We are looking for the total area. How many times bigger is the total area of the James Webb Telescope than the Hubble? This is super exciting, by the way. I remember them starting to really talk about the Webb Telescope when I was in grad school. And I remember being like, oh, if I'm hearing about it, that means it's probably going to go up I don't know, next year. It
I'm
took
stopping laughing myself. I'm stopping laughing. Controlling
it,
myself here.
it took many more years. So yeah,
And
I
it's
thought
not up yet, so
almost it did
could,
it did do that very scary thing where it fell a little bit
you
while they were
know,
putting it up and on its rocket, but it looks
you
like
know,
it
I,
recovered and
it
all
might
good.
go up Christmas Eve or Christmas, so it could be like the Christmas star, the miracle of,
That's
that sort of thing.
Yeah, I'm
Launching
going to
up
change
there,
my
streaking
mind.
into space.
I think that means that on New Year's Day, likely it'll be about 7 days away from its launch. And so what I will be doing is checking to see how the James Webb Telescope is doing up in space. It's going to take, what is it, about 2 weeks for it to sort of
Has to unfold.
unfurl.
Yeah, it has to
Oh my
unfold.
gosh.
Yeah.
It's just so many so many things that it needs to do in order to show us some really
And
amazing
it's a
pictures.
million. It's like a million miles away. It's not,
Yeah, it's
it's
far.
way outside where the moon is. So
Yeah. It's going to be sort of in like a locked elliptical orbit with us too, which I think is
the
really
La,
cool.
the Lagrangian point, as they call it, the
Yes.
second Lagrangian point,
It's
which
pretty
is,
cool.
I think, you see Star Trek stuff. You see that's always mentioned in, movies, space movies, the Lagrangian points, but we're actually
Yeah.
using them.
Someone is asking about a margin of error, by the way. You got no margin of error on this one. You do have to be right. I will give you a hint that it is a whole number. So do your best. Your best on that one. All right, teams, we're going to move on to question number 4. So question number 4, Ira, if you wouldn't mind taking this one away, I gave
Oh,
you the
this was
question.
so much fun. Oh, thank you for this question. Finally, millipede means what it means. This new invertebrate, Eumillipedus persephone, I guess, was found 200 feet underground in Australia and has the most legs of any creature on Earth, living or dead. 1,306 legs. How many legs did the previous world record holder Iacomni plenipes flaunt? How many legs did the previous world record holder? This one really has 1,000 millas, 1,000 feet,
Yes,
so 1,300 legs, but not the last record holder. What was that number?
exactly.
Yeah,
Yes, so we need to know
yeah.
how many legs that little guy had. I didn't know, by the way, that there was a millipede that had any more legs than maybe like, I don't know, 60. I think I probably, if you had asked me this question a week ago, like what's the most amount of legs a millipede had? I don't know that I would have even gotten to
No.
100.
You got to
It's
start digging really deep. You got to get out in your backyard with, with a backhoe or something. Get a few hundred feet underground, and 200 feet underground in Australia.
I know they had to dig really far to find this thing. It's almost like it didn't want to be found. There's Michael again is being the good trivia questioner that he is, and asking if there's a margin for error. There's no margin for error on this one, you guys. I'm being a tricksy trivia host again. You got to get the right answer. Our friend Rachel Feltman, who was on the show last week, said the number. She did say the number, and so you gotta have listened to the show and have, or just maybe you are a millipede expert and you know this. But we do need the exact number of legs. You can't even be one off. But good job. Do your best, everybody.
It's a foot race to get there, so we'll see how it.
Exactly. All right, and our last question of the round. It's a wild card question. So if you've been to SciFri Trivia before, I sneak in wild card questions that are about things that we do that aren't always on the radio. And so for this one, you would have had listened to our science diction episode, which came out on Tuesday. So just yesterday, a new science diction episode dropped this week, all about the American chestnut trees. You'd be hard pressed to actually find a fully grown chestnut tree these days. In the early 1900s, the trees began to disappear, succumbing to a mystery fungus, and they've really never recovered. In what city was the fungus first observed? Was it Boston, New York, Philadelphia, or Washington, D.C.?
Does anybody still sing under the spreading chestnut tree? Did you do that as a kid? The
No.
little song. Well, God, I'm dating myself on this one. It was when I was a kid in day camp. We used to do this little under the spreading chestnut tree. And when I held you on my knee, we were happy as can be under the spreading chestnut tree. And then you would take the words out of it gradually. So then you just had just the actions doing the little. I'm sorry.
I love it.
Go away
First of
now.
all, I love it. That sounds really nice. It
Somebody
sounds really
out there,
pleasant.
please bail me out of this one.
No, it sounds like a lovely way to talk about trees as a child. I
Yeah.
love that so
Well,
much.
That's when we had
No.
chestnut trees,
That's a
so
good
we
point.
could talk about them.
Funny enough, I went to Governor's Island. Like, I tell this story constantly, but I went to Governor's Island, I think it was 2 or 3 years ago, and I was walking through one of the forts that they have there, and we were staring at this tree, and we're like, what is this tree? And a park ranger from like across the area was like, you like the tree? And I was like, I do. What is it? And he came over and he was like, finally, like someone who wants to talk about this tree, let's do it. And it was a chestnut tree. It was one of the
Wow.
hybrid chestnut trees with I think, as they talk about in science fiction, a Chinese chestnut and an American chestnut hybrid. And so we were looking at the seeds, which a couple had fallen to the ground too. And we were like holding one and he was like, oh, do you want to take it? And we were like, are we allowed to? It seems, I mean, I just want to, are we allowed to take it? He was like, yeah, it's fine. Just take it and see if you plant it, see if it grows.
Wow.
We tried. It didn't grow. It was
Yeah,
pretty cool,
well,
though.
Yeah, there are a lot of chestnut trees, but this is just the American we're talking about.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
if we're lucky one day, you'll be walking through a forest and you'll see like a teenage tree and you'll be able to point at it and be like, oh, chestnut tree. That's nice. So. All right, friends, that is the end of round 3. So if you have not submitted your forms yet, that is okay. Here is a last look at the questions. We're going to leave you for a minute and a half. Good luck. Listen to the song, and we'll see you in a few. All right. That is the end of round 3. Last chance at the questions. And that's it. All right. That's the questions. All right. We are going to go score as we always do. Good luck to all of the teams. But I have one more video for you. And I do have, I couldn't find another video about snowflakes. There might be more, but I couldn't find them. I actually showed a couple videos last week. One was about avalanches. And so I kind of maybe played that one a week too early. But we are going to show you another video. And this one's actually about owls and how and why they are able to turn their necks as much as they are able to. So we will be back in a few minutes. Good luck. Have fun, everybody. We'll see you in a few.
Say, that is really something.
Incredible,
Glittering, fascinating, fabulous, mythical,
and paradoxical.
That's a very interesting demonstration you've got there.
You have to have some knowledge of science. So that's the point.
From the Department of Things Weird and Wonderful, a long-standing mystery solved. How owls
rotate their heads 270 degrees on the horizontal axis, and they can actually tilt their heads 180 degrees on the vertical.
Fabian de Kock Mercado is a scientific illustrator at Howard Hughes Medical Institute, and an owl enthusiast?
Oh, I love owls very much.
Absolutely. He's an owl freak.
And that's his partner on this study.
So I am Philippe Gaillou.
Gaillou is the director of interventional neuroradiology at the Johns Hopkins Hospital. And before we go any further, you have to see this. Okay, back to the science. It was already known that owls have double the number of vertebrae in their necks than we do, and more segments gives them more flexibility. But the unsolved mystery was this.
Why are there not hundreds of owls lying on the forest floor with a stroke?
Even if I had enough bones to turn my head like this, I'd damage an artery in my neck, and that
leads to the risk of having some blood clot formation and then a stroke from that.
Gayu specializes in vascular disease, by the way, and he says that besides clotting, the other problem is that turning your neck that much would pinch your arteries and prevent blood flow to the brain.
Is there some adaptation that owls have that allow them to do this?
To answer the question, they x-rayed 12 dead owls.
No owls was hurt in the making of that experiment.
They also dissected owls and injected a contrast dye to see how blood moved through owl necks. And they found that this artery, although it runs through a canal in the vertebrae,
This canal is 10 times larger in diameter than the vertebral artery itself.
so it has a lot of wiggle room.
And in the human, the vertebral artery is touching the bone, so it's hugging this canal.
The other thing is that that artery actually doesn't travel through the canal at all at the bottom of the neck.
That additional amount of slack prevents any vessel damage.
Plus, the other arteries, the carotids, don't stretch because
They are, in fact, in the axis of rotation. So that covers the protection of the vessels.
Now to the second part, which is supplying blood to the relatively large head.
to understand how the blood flows, the researchers injected dyed fluid into the arteries of the owls, rotated their heads, and then took x-rays. And they found something curious.
We consistently noticed that these arteries were getting larger towards the base of the head.
The arteries pooled blood right here.
These reservoirs are most likely a mechanism to hold blood when the vessels are constricted somewhat by this extreme range of rotation,
possibly providing a source of fresh blood for the brain. These findings may also explain why owls are not lying on the forest floor, suffering from strokes. As for the practical applications,
I don't think I can say that we learned from that experiment anything that's actually going to help our patients, but it doesn't matter. It's interesting by itself.
It goes to show that there's so many things on this planet that deserve a closer look.
for Science Friday, I'm Flora Lichtman.
I just love that. It's like, I love it's just a closer look. As if he knew.
Great new trivia in that also.
Yeah.
Honestly, I mean, there's so much stuff in there.
There's just so much that we have done in the past that makes it really easy to... Honestly, I really just troll our website a lot just for facts and stuff. So you'll notice a lot of the stuff that I talk about is just stuff we've talked about just 10 years ago.
And one final shout out to BJ Lehman, who composes our theme music, because there is another Easter egg in our theme music that I bring up every now and then, and that there is Morse code. There is a Morse code message in our theme music, typing out something that I will not reveal at the moment.
If you've been to SciFri Trivia, you might remember this fact before, but if you haven't, do some listening, some close listening to the theme and see what happens. All right. So we're going to go over the answers for round 3 now, and we're going to go back to this little guy, our little puffins. So we asked, what was the name of the famous island on the southern edge of the Puffins Range where you can find a lot of puffins as well as other seabirds and some conservation researchers who are counting and taking care of these birds. It's called Eastern Egg Rock. Yes. So you can go to sciencefriday.com/puffins to actually watch the video. I believe we watched it a couple weeks ago, actually. So you might already know about this video and you've watched it many, many times before, but it's really fun. And the researchers are just like so passionate about making sure that we understand what's happening with these birds and how climate change might be affecting their lives. It's a really, really great video. All right. And so we are going to move on to question 2. We talked last week all about singing and how masks affect both the sound, but also the air moving through the air coming out of our lungs and into the air. But we asked, besides singing voices, what other wind instrument did Thomas mention was part of the research study? It was flutes. Yes. So as you can imagine, a flautist just sort of pushes air in a very direct way that some other instruments don't. So when you're pushing air through a clarinet or a saxophone, it actually has to go through the full instrument. But some of the sound from a flute comes from you pushing air through. I played a flute, so I know a lot about this. Some of it is through the actual sort of like full body of the flute, but there's a lot of air that just goes right over the flute as well, over the mouthpiece. So they found that if you put a piece of acetate actually outside of a flautist's sort of like blowing range, a lot of air doesn't sort of make it past their general area, and then it lifts up and away. So it's also a good thing. So you can, have some acetate on the ready if you're going to be fluting around town these days, or a singing mask if you are a singer in a public place. So, okay. Question 3 was all about the James Webb Telescope. How many times bigger was the question? Is the Hubble mirror than Hubble's current mirror? It's 6 times bigger. And so, yes, so its area is, the area that it's going to be collecting light from is 6 times bigger. So not only that, but it's seeing in a different way. It's so
There's
cool.
a visual hint in that photo. Because if you know, the Hubble only has one big mirror in it.
Mm-hmm.
So if you look at those 6, you'd say, well, maybe the Hubble has just one big one. There are 6 of them there.
There you go. You're welcome, everyone. Yeah. It's pretty cool stuff. I mean, it's just like this thing is going to show us like some truly amazing photos of the universe. I'm super excited to see when it comes out. So, all right. Question number 4 was all about these millipedes. Finally, we have an actual millipede that has over 1,000 legs. But the previous record holder had how many legs? 750. Yes. So it had 750 legs. And I think that's amazing. I mean,
that's a lot of athlete's foot. You know, that's too much to think about.
Exactly. Yeah. One if you have one tiny foot cramp or just one smelly foot, you're really ruined for life if you're this millipede. So
but you have to figure out where it is, don't you?
Yeah, exactly. Like it's like they're all so close to each other. Who could possibly
and then 1,000 of them.
It's unacceptable. It's too many feet. All right. And our last question was all about this chestnut tree. And so we asked, where was the first city actually recorded to see this fungus? And the city was New York. Yes. So you can go to sciencefriday.com/chestnuts to listen to the full story. But essentially, there was a person who was working at the New York Botanical Gardens and noticed this fungus kind of growing on chestnut trees that were within the Botanic Garden, and alerted the officials. And so from there, they noticed a spread from New York across basically the entire eastern area where chestnuts used to grow. So, it's not great. Another great thing.
As they described it, it was a spread across New York.
Yes. Or if you were in Philly, they would have said it came across the water. That's.
I could go another 3 hours on this one.
We could. I don't want to do a Boston accent. Sorry, everybody. I won't put you through that. So,
no.
All right, that's the end of the round. So this is the moment where I say thank you. This is so much fun. Whoop, there we go. That's what I meant to do. Hello. Ira, thank you so much for doing this with us. It is always so much fun to have you as part of it.
And excuse me, and I always have so much fun doing this. Thank you, Diana, for inviting me. And it is a lot of fun. I love it. And I want to wish everybody happy holidays. You too, Diana, and everybody out there who has stuck with us all this time for our trivia and watch it grow. It's been growing really well.
It really has.
Yeah.
We have over 1,000 people who sign up for the list and actually try to come out each week. So
and I'm beginning to recognize the regulars, the people.
Isn't that nice?
Out.
Yeah.
It is. It's wonderful. It's wonderful.
It's really nice. Yeah. So thank you to everyone who comes out every week. Thank you to all the people who are new. If you are looking for a way to support Science Friday, by the way, now is a great time to do it because we, until the end of the year, have a match. And so if you donate $1, we have News Match is an organization that helps Science Friday and other organizations like us fundraise. And so for every $1 that you donate, they also give us $1. So you basically double your donation through the end of the year. So it's just till December 31st. So if you haven't donated yet, now is a great time to do it. If you go to sciencefriday.com/donate-events, I put the link in the chat, but I'm going to do it again here. that's the way they will know that you came from Science Friday Trivia. And so it basically gives me one vote in the, hey, let's keep doing this channel. So thank you all so much again for coming out week after week after week. It has been so, so, so much fun. All right.
Can't wait to see you all next year.
Yes, I'm so excited. So before we celebrate everything, so I do have a bit of a special announcement, which is that not just one team won this time, but hey, I'm feeling generous for the holiday season. And so we had one team who came out on top and then two teams who tied for second. And so all of those teams are going to be getting a small gift from me as a thank you for being part of the Science Friday Trivia team and for coming out a lot to actually celebrate with us. And those teams were the sibling rivals, Argonauta, and Trained Observers. And so sibling rivals, you got 14 points, and Argonauta and the Trained Observers, you were both tied for 13th. For second place with 13 points. So congratulations. I'm going to send you all something small to say thank you and congratulations for doing Science Friday Trivia week after week. A few people were asking about the leaderboard. So yes, the leaderboard, we're going to finalize the leaderboard by this week, and we are going to post the final leaderboard next week. And so we'll restart the leaderboard in January. Like all good things, we'll restart the year fresh and new. So you can just start racking up the points on January 12th, which is when we'll be back for Science Friday Trivia again. So I hope to see you all again. Ira, any last words of advice as we move into 2022 for all of our trivia fans out here?
Any words of advice? Keep being trivial. You know, that's the fun of life, is the trivia that you see every day. Keep your eyes open for it. It's all around us. It's wonderful, beautiful stuff.
I love that. That is fantastic advice. Thank you, Ira.
You're
All
welcome.
right, everyone, we're going to go take a quick break. We will be doing Science Friday Trivia again January 12th. There are a bunch of shows, so keep listening to Science Friday. We will see you then. Thank you for a great year. This has been a lovely year. Have a wonderful night, everyone. We'll see you all
Bye-bye.
next year. Bye.